Do authors have an app that the publishers give them that shows the rolling and ticking of sales, you know?
I think on one hand, I love the idea of it. On the other hand, I can see that being like quite bad for my mental health, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Do you have Eric's number now?
I don't. I do. I like to consider him a close personal friend though, you know?
I love it.
Yeah, it's really nice. So you get to kind of catch a big food. Yeah. So I really like her. She's a great Aussie author, you know.
Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Welcome to Happy.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
So look, we are here today to celebrate your latest literary release, Exiles. I thought it would be really lovely to start with what you're up to today. It's release day, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does release day look like?
Yeah. Oh, you know, it always looks a bit different with each book. The first, I think, when your debut novel comes out, you're kind of going around like madly trying to just like raise awareness about the book and get people to kind of notice it. And then as more books come out, you can kind of take it a little easier because I guess the word of mouth has spread and you've got those committed readers who, you know, are going to seek it out. So for me today, I mean, I'm based in Melbourne, so I get to come to Sydney. I get a lovely, like, relaxed...
Welcome to Sydney.
Thank you. I get to see the good, it's great. I get to kind of see the publishers who I work so closely with, but rarely get to see face to face. So that was really lovely. And then today go around and get like to chat to people like you about the book and go and see it in the shops, which is always like that's a really special moment, getting to see it actually out there on the shelves for real, like in the wild.
Amazing. I walked past Better Read Than Dead this morning. This, which is what we're talking about today, is in the front window, and you're doing some book signings, right? Yeah,
so I'm actually doing an event with Better Read Than Dead tonight, and I'm doing a few other Sydney events in the coming weeks, and around the country as well. So that's I kind of feel that's like my reward as a writer for all those hours I spend alone in my monk-like office, you know, writing the book. It's that kind of, because you're writing for the readers, so when you actually get a chance to go out and meet the readers and, you know, sort of, I guess see the book in their hands and discuss it with them a little bit, that's kind of when it feels very real.
That's really sweet. That's amazing. So Exiles is your fifth work.
Yeah.
It's the third that features the now legendary Aaron Falk, detective.
So kind of you.
Yeah. It would be remiss not to talk about The Dry, because this was what catapulted your career. Congratulations are in order for the 1 million copies sold. I was reading this and kind of trying to fathom that volume. It's almost incomprehensible in some ways. The first question that came to me was, how does that information filter through to you? You know, how long after a release does the author start to get a sense of success?
I think, you know, you get sales figures pretty quickly. I mean, it depends kind of, I guess, how you measure success. I mean, you know the sales figures quite quickly. You know, even before that, you know the pre-orders and you know the print run. So you get those kind of numerical, you know, key figures quite early. I think the reader reaction is something that you never really get until sometime after the book's published. And I'm not talking about reviewers, I'm talking about, you know, people who read for pleasure and they read it and they recommend it to their friends. And it's that, for me, that I sort of count as the moment when I feel the book has been successful, when I hear people have passed their copy on to their mum, or they've bought it for a friend's birthday, or something like that. I
had a little joke in my head about, do authors have an app that the publishers give them that shows the rolling and ticking of sales, you know?
I think on one hand, I love the idea of it. On the other hand, I can see that being like quite bad for my mental health, you know?
Right. Yeah, some really deep, dark Black Mirror stuff going on.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. It would be like the ultimate sort of like Instagram feed or something. You just would never be off that, I think. Yeah. So.
I caught The Dry on the weekend. I feel like I left that a little too late in terms of such a great Aussie movie, you know, being out for a couple of years, more than a couple of years, I think. Quintessentially Aussie, but some real fundamental, you know, stuff going on in there. How does that come about? How does that work? How does a published book become a movie?
Yeah, so The Dry got optioned really early on, actually, when it was still unpublished even. I had a great film agent who got it into the hands of Bruna Papandreou, who was the producer. She's behind Big Little Lies and a bunch of other, you know, really massive hits. He managed to get it into her on her desk, and she read it. And so it was optioned really early, and then your years pass because making a film is a huge undertaking. And I was really lucky that Robert Connolly is a director, and he came on to write the script as well. And I knew that he really understood the book, and he absolutely kind of got what made it and what made the character. The icing on the cake was the big icing on the cake was getting like someone as beloved as Eric Bana to play the lead role. I mean, I could not ask for better.
Yeah.
And I just loved the finished product. I thought it was such a thoughtful, beautiful adaptation, and I thought it absolutely captured exactly what I feel I wanted from the book and what readers have responded like so well to.
Do you have Eric's number now?
I don't. I do. I like to consider him a close personal friend, though. You know?
I love it. I love that. And from what I understand, the next adaptation is underway, if not filming or
filming. So Force of Nature is my second book, and it's the second one featuring Aaron Falk. So Eric Bana has returned.
Hey.
God bless him to reprise his character, which is really amazing. And it's so Force of Nature was filmed over the winter down in Victoria, and it's in post-production now. So hopefully, maybe a release date to be announced, next year.
That's really exciting.
It's really exciting. I can't wait to. And it's Robert Connolly's done the script again. It's the whole same sort of key core team. Mm-hmm. So it's so great to kind of know it's in good hands.
Yeah. Well, the team has reassembled for what I'm sure will be another success.
Hopefully.
How involved were you?
Like a bit. I mean, it helps when you've got people who are willing to collaborate with you. So I mean, Robert Connolly actually lives quite close to me in Victoria, so we would meet up for coffee, quite a few times and chat about things, and he'd sort of share his ideas, and he'd ask maybe questions about things that, intentions that maybe didn't make it onto the page in the book, and things. And then I got to go out on sets on the Dry when they were filming. I got to be in it, which was so much fun.
Now I missed that. I watched it, and tell me about the
great cameo.
Tell me about the cameo.
So you have to keep your eyes wide open in the very opening funeral scene, where you can see me and my husband and about a dozen of our assorted friends and family peppered around the church, beautifully playing mourning townspeople.
Okay.
So I feel it really sets up the whole movie to come.
Absolutely. I'm going to watch it again just for that.
Absolutely. It took us, we were there for like 2 days filming that, and it's about 4 seconds. So you've got to, you don't look down at your popcorn.
Okay,
or you'll
good.
miss it.
No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to dive in. All right, so the big thing for me in discovering you, in diving into Exiles, which I'm 3/4 of the way through, so no spoilers today, is the archetype of the detective. Now, I caught a David Lynch masterclass a couple of years ago where he speaks to the point of the detective being the most important archetype in both film and literary work. Sherlock Holmes, as an example, is the most portrayed character ever. It got me thinking, and I listened to what he was saying, and it speaks to the part of every person which is looking for an answer. So the journey of the detective, the archetype of the detective, is really a personification of us looking for answers for the unanswerable questions. And I've read a lot of detective stories. I was a fan as a reader, and so is my 13-year-old who reads avidly. Are you consciously aware of that? I want to talk about the detective archetype a little bit.
When I first started writing my first novel, I was working full-time as a journalist, and I really wanted to write a book. And but I had no expectation it was going to get published. So I wrote the kind of book that I like to read. I love books, with mystery and suspense. I love books with a question and then a resolution at the end. And I especially love when the resolution is very satisfying, and you look back and you can see the way, the clues sort of dotted in throughout, and all those threads come together. And so that was what I set out to write, certainly with The Dry and with every novel. And the detective is a really interesting sort of character to go from, because there's so many different types, and people don't necessarily have to be, actual qualified police, officers.
No, of course not.
The detective can be
Nancy
a family
Drew.
member, or anything. But I mean, for Falk particularly, I wanted to sort of write a character that I felt that, I personally would follow through, and someone who was sort of good-hearted and, was sort of someone that you wanted to spend those 300 pages with. And I also wanted to avoid certain things that just personally annoy me a little bit as a reader, where, for example, you get a lot of detectives who are, high-functioning alcoholics,
right.
but I feel like...
or worse.
Or worse. And, I feel like sometimes you think, gosh, I'm not sure how you dress yourself, let alone solve a crime. So I wanted him to be much more kind of professional, and I think a bit more realistic in terms of the actual sort of, the realistic people we meet every day.
Well, I love that, because I was going to say that it feels like it's a very natural and conscious evolution of the detective archetype.
Oh, thank you.
And I love that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really love that about him.
Oh, thank you so much. I think when I with all the characters, and particularly him, but with all of them, I always, I want characters who I guess feel they feel authentic in the way that they feel recognizable, that you feel like you've met someone a bit like this at some point,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. So, and it takes a while to get that. You don't get that straight off in the drafts. It's something that the characters sort of develop and build as you work through the story.
Yeah.
But hopefully by the end, that is how they feel.
Yeah, and we often hear, write what you know, and so I get a sense of you being very close to the landscape. I get a sense of you being in there. The research that goes into this, I mean, I think I did read the acknowledgements and thank yous at the very end here. I think maybe it's a two-part question. How much of you is injected into the work, and how much of it is research, or do they overlap?
Yeah, they definitely overlap. I mean, I think it's impossible to divorce yourself completely from any book. It's so much part of you, and every bit of dialogue has to be. You almost have to imagine yourself saying it, and you're thinking about it. I'm thinking about it so much, when I'm writing. So it's really it threads through your life while you're writing it. But a really key part is that research element where you go out, and I always go out to spend a bit of time in the place I'm writing about. So for Exiles, which is set in the South Australian wine country, I have to say that was the most sort of one of the most fun research trips I've ever done. I'm not sure you can barely count it as work.
You talked about the wine you were drinking.
That's right.
The vineyards who were looking after you. Oh,
it was
goodness.
just lovely. I mean, I wanted that setting for this one that had that. There's a bit of sort of darkness in the book, but there's a lot of light as well. And I wanted a setting that really captured that light as well. And what a beautiful setting that was. It was an absolute joy to, I think, try and translate some of that to the page and let the characters enjoy that space.
Yeah, amazing. Look, on that point, it starts a little ominously. I loved the prologue, and I was hoping you could read a little bit for us.
A million decisions paved the road to a single act, and a single act could be derailed in any one of a million ways. But choices had been made, some conscious and considered, some less so. And of all the million paths that had lain ahead, this was the one they found themselves on.
It could have been the smallest of things, and it could be apocalyptic. I couldn't wait to find out what you meant.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I looked on, this is almost there's a spiritual depth to the byline, if you call it a byline. We see what we expect to see. What are your thoughts and reasons behind that line?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of mentioned in the prologue. It talks about, the book opens with kind of the people of this community reflecting on what they themselves saw when this woman who was very close to a lot of them sort of unexpectedly goes just sort of vanishes from this busy food and wine festival, abandoning her baby, which is such a troubling thing for so many of them. And the book opens with them questioning really what looking back, what did we see and what did we? I think particularly what they should have seen maybe in terms of the time leading up to that moment.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then I think as the book goes on, more and more realizations start to occur and things start to shift slightly in terms of their perception of events. So when I'm writing the books, or when I'm thinking about kind of the ways in, or even like chapter endings or the overall arc, I'm always sort of trying to think of something that is going to keep the reader engaged themselves and wondering, what exactly is it? What is it that we're seeing on the page,
Lovely.
and what is it we're seeing in reality?
Well, you have achieved that, and it's a very enjoyable read.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I
Absolutely.
really enjoyed writing it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, Exiles by Jane Harper is out today. Really stoked to have Jane in at Happy. You've got a run of interviews and bits and pieces throughout the day, signings and so forth, and then Melbourne tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
I want to end on, are you already working on something? I can't help but ask,
Yeah, no, it's a valid question. So I will be starting to work on a new book, really soon.
Well, you deserve a break. I'm not saying you should.
It is quite a big undertaking, so I tend to get one of them out and then sort of turn my mind
Chill.
to the next one. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I love thinking about the stories and writing, so it's hard to stay away from it for too long, to be honest. So
Yep.
yeah, soon.
Amazing. Well, thanks for visiting us. And the next time there's something around, we'd love to have you back.
Oh, thank you so much. This is
Great.
so fun.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Totally fine with that. So it was a good read, and then it didn't go there at all. Like
I know what you
it
mean.
was-
That does happen,
yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
So it was good. Like, that was just a real page turner kind of. But if
What
you-
was it? Making a
Dark Matter.
Dark Matter. Yeah. I'm
Like
making
Blake
mental note.
Crouch, yeah, it was really good. It was just like, yeah, kind of, it's kind of a fun, like, yeah, sort of, yeah, this like sci-fi sort of.
Awesome.
I'll check out that one. That sounds
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good.